Uh, we might be the three Fs tonight, as I'm not feeling very festive.
The trouble is all inside your head, I say to you.
Huh?
The answer is easy if you try to think it through.
What?
I'd like to help you with your trouble cause you're blue. There must be festive ways to do the podcast.
Are you feeling okay?
Having a heat stroke again. Again, white folks.
The following podcast contains graphic descriptions of international celebrating and global merrymaking. It may not be suitable for angry or unhappy audience members. Listener discretion is advised. You've been warned.
Have you ever seen any of those foreign films? I don't like them.
Lord, you! Rein die Weihnachten!
Some are born great, others achieve greatness, and some watch Christmas movies.
Von Natale! Alles Kerzen! We are the wild and crazy guys!
Well, they're both festive, aren't they?
Joyeux Noël!
And we are the Festive Foreign Film Fans. Mark, guess what?
What?
It's 2025.
Oh my God, that's why I feel so different today.
Yeah.
I did not know it.
Well,
I couldn't remember why the last couple of days things seemed different. But
It's just sinking in on me now. I know it's been a few weeks, but I'm like, 2025. We're a quarter of the way through 2000s.
the 2000s.
This is, to me, it's really kind of overwhelming. And I know, look, I'm showing my age, but I can remember when the millennium's coming. Get excited or get,
Right.
for you, get worried because you were worried about Y2K.
That's more of a bitter thing. But it's interesting perspective to say we're a quarter way through
Yes.
this next century.
The thing that to put it in perspective, and this is what I think about, 100 years ago, in 1925, the people sitting in 1925, think of all the things that happened after, from 1925 to 1999. Think about that. They had no idea. 2 world wars came, television,
The internet,
the internet, landing on the moon.
landing on the moon.
Yeah. The rise of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Soviet Union. I mean, and that's the crazy thing. It's like, what's going to happen for us?
I don't know.
All right. So, Mark, that's kind of our challenge. Like, what's going to happen over the next 75 years? We're 25 years in, and there are some things like artificial intelligence. We've barely scratched the surface, but that's going to make some big changes, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We had those hurricanes last year that came through. Clearly, the climate is changing. I don't care what, you people are going to say, that's not true. I don't believe it.
Right.
My birthday's in December. My whole life growing up, there was snow on the ground. Once in a while, it was green, but it would be an odd thing. There's never snow on the ground for my birthday.
So rare.
Now.
So rare.
It's just, that's crazy. And then think of all these countries where the population's declining.
Right.
Is it people choosing not to have kids? Or is there some environmental factor? Because it's not just one country, it's several countries that their population is dipping.
Yeah. So I think it is more choice than...
It's not the microplastics in your sperm.
It's not the microplastics in my sperm. We digress. But
Yeah.
Here, do you want to hear some of my predictions for the next?
So yes, because I want to say we're going to look into our magic 8 ball. We're going to shake it up. And is it going to say outlook good? Or is it going to say reply hazy? And I've given you a name for this. You're Mark Stradamus.
All right. Here's some ditties, right?
Okay.
Write these down. Here's one. I think at the turn of the century, people will be in their own private drones flying around. So they already exist today where you can sort of have these drones you sit in and you can fly, but I think there'll be a organized way for people to fly. So flying cars, like via like a flying drone.
Yes. I think we will go to in some countries have already done this, but we'll have a shorter work week. I think you absolutely will have, because all the innovation with robotics, artificial intelligence, it's going to eliminate so many jobs that to keep everyone employed, you're going to have two people doing maybe one job, and you'd work 30 hours a week. Or
I'd like that. Although I'm retired, so it doesn't matter.
You have more than that now.
I think in the future, there'll be no more American football. I think by the turn of the century, American football will be eliminated, not due to injuries, because of lack of interest.
No way.
Absolutely.
Seriously? Why?
Absolutely. I just think it's one of the most boring sports ever I think it's turning so boring. It's dull. You have to wait every 25 seconds between plays. If your name's not Patrick Mahomes, then you get penalized. I just think that by the turn of the century, people will be sick and tired. The game has evolved to be such a boring sport. And I actually think it could even be sooner.
Where you may be right, you might see erosion, and this is one of my predictions, the video gaming industry as well as movies will become immersive. So I think you will be part of the show. You know what I mean? Either you're sitting in a room witnessing it happen, or they can do it so that you're like a character and you're saying the line, even though you're not really speaking them, but someone's talking to you and you're saying the lines and you're doing all the things.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I'd love to see that happen. That way, quite honestly, that's a good alternative to football.
Yeah. And that, I think, would, if people, or, if you could get in and suddenly feel like you're playing the game, maybe it would.
I like that. I also think there'll be are you ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
I think by the turn of the century, the United States will have a new constitution.
Oh my gosh!
And that's not a negative, or Ben Franklin originally said when they had this constitution signed that he thought that this document should last only about 150 years. Like he said, after 150 years, I hope the future, or whatever he said, something I'm paraphrasing, will tear this up and start all over again. And so I think that by the turn of the century, the U.S. Constitution will be just redone to reflect all the stuff we're talking about. Yeah. Modernizations. Like, I think the core things will still be there, like freedom of speech and right to bear my laser gun. Or like, I think that there'll be a movement in the second half of the century to say, let's really, and I think it's more of a positive. I think we could grow into more of a country that has more harmonized, and everyone will sit down. Well, let's not tear it up, but let's think about how do we write this in a way to reflect all this technology.
You're blowing my mind. I mean, the last one I was going to offer up was, I think we're going to be too late for climate change, and there will be damage done, but I think it'll lead to new industries and things. We're going to have to develop ways around it, but I do think the damage will be done. We won't be able to reverse it.
Bob, with our movie picks and stuff, we use the overlap. So this is what I said, this is more of a negative thought, was that water will be more expensive than fuel. Right. And because we're going to have to manufacture more, because I agree with you. And then the only last one I have, which is, again, I think by the turn of the century.
Oh, come on. I'm ready. I'm bracing myself.
By the turn of the century, you are going to be able to get multiple tests done that will predict within 1 to 2 years how long you will live. And you're going to be able to take that test by the time you're 5 years old.
We're going to live longer, unless there are problems with the environment because of climate change. But I think we will be able to, and I think all the predictors will be there.
Yeah.
So they might be able to help solve some of them.
Yeah, the way you said it, that's right. That's how it really, it's not about how to live, but they'll be able to predict the likelihood of all your diseases.
Like start to treat you for some of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing too, and I read this, and this is not my idea, but they're saying that because of Ozempic and Wegovy, and that obesity will be like we talk about polio. No one will be obese anymore because these medications we have.
It could. I mean,
which then that helps with heart disease, all kinds of stuff, But
then the population is living longer. But good news is they're only working 30 hours a week, and they're not wasting their time watching football on Sundays. But anyway, that's some of my predictions for the future. In case someone discovers this and finds this, and they thought, "Wow, where did this brilliant man come from?" I came from Wilkes-Barre.
I give you a lot of credit. You came up with some good ones. I'm a little scared. I'm going to start rewriting the Constitution tonight.
I'm telling
My ideas,
you.
at least. Here are some thoughts.
I have a few too.
But Mark, so we've been doing some serious stuff
Yeah.
and serious talking, and I like it. But let's move on to tonight's movie.
Yay.
After, I think we've had several weeks of serious movies too, and it was kind of fun to return to some lighthearted fare. This movie, Circenisa Ziemassvetki from Latvia. You know what? It was a great escape from this heavy thinking. I think you spent less time watching the movie and more time thinking about these questions, where I was like enjoying the movie.
I love this movie.
And I loved it too. I really did. Now, I want to get to it, but I figure we better get out that trivia. We also had our first sticker winner from outside the U.S.
Wow.
Cullum in the UK. He won.
Thank you, Cullum.
Cullum. So that was exciting. So if you remember the documentary, Merry Christmas, Ye Woo, we had traveled to the land of the Red Dragon and all those vivid red Christmas decorations. It was China. We were in China. And it was an interesting bit of trivia because it was a bit of a head scratcher. Because the question I asked you, Mark, was, before chopsticks, what did the Chinese use to eat their food? Nobody ever asked that. Like, did they always use chopsticks? Or you may not believe it, but it was forks and knives. Isn't it crazy?
It's absolutely crazy. And I think about how when I try to look cultured and use chopsticks, and I'm embarrassed when I have to use my knife and fork, they did that before that.
Well, and what makes you laugh is, you always had chopsticks and you're like, why did the Chinese ever use these? Forks and knives are so much easier,
Right.
spoons. No, they had them. The Chinese invented the cha, the fork, and it was made out of animal bones. It was only during the Shang Dynasty, 4,000 years. So they had forks and knives more than 4,000 years ago.
Oh my God.
But during the Shang Dynasty, the kawazai, chopsticks, became the dining tool, and it generally replaced the forks and knives on the dining tables.
That's insane.
If you knew that answer, you put out your hands, because we're going to give you a sticker. And since we had our live podcast last month, we have lots of stickers now. We got lots of colorful stickers. We got our sponsors. We have those, our other fake podcasts. We have those stickers for those. Whatever you want. If you knew that answer, you're getting them. But now, ready?
I'm ready.
Tonight's movie.
Want to watch a Christmas movie?
Christmas movies are our bread and butter.
We eat Chinese food and watch Christmas movies.
I heard it's the best Christmas movie since Home Alone.
Sit back, because we are off to the Baltic Sea and the beauty and historic charm of Latvia. Now, Mark, I have to tell you this. I don't know about you, but I had this image in my mind of Eastern Europe, all of Eastern Europe. Like I treated it as a monolithic area that all looked like East Berlin. I thought it was sad and depressing, and you see those blocks of apartment buildings, and so that was the typical communist portrayal that we always saw.
That's what we saw. That's what we learned.
So then we have watched a few movies from these countries, and I am telling you, I am shocked by the charm that they have and the natural beauty of most of them. This is the part, what I really, really appreciate. And this is another one. We love that Slovenia film. I love this one too for many of the same reasons. But what I really like about it is it shows you, and this is kind of the mission or the mantra of our podcast, it shows you the same human issues and problems, raising kids, getting along with our spouses, headaches with our jobs and our in-laws, all those things. It's that comfortable feeling. So you're watching that, you're seeing things that you've lived through and you're familiar. But guess what? They're speaking foreign language.
They're tens of thousands of miles away. And humor, and the other thing too that I love about these movies is humor is humor.
Humor is humor, exactly.
And I think this is a really fun movie.
And I tried to think of the word, and I say it's uplifting. Yeah. It is really uplifting. All of that. The movies are uplifting. The fact that we can relate so well, and it's a whole different culture. It's really, really great.
It is very good. This is a good movie to get into.
let me talk about the actors. So the first one, his name is Kaspars Karklins, and he plays Bruno Circenis. And Bruno's, he's great.
Awesome.
I couldn't find much about him. And this is one of the things, it's a common theme we've seen with a lot of these Eastern European, especially in the movie industry. They don't have a lot of bios out there. It's hard to learn about these people, but he is an actor at the Latvia Theater, which is the oldest professional theater in Latvia. He was born in Riga, the capital, and he's continued to study and act in Latvia. He is known for his expressiveness and his diverse acting roles, which I could see that. Couldn't you?
Absolutely.
He could play a badass.
Yeah.
And like he plays in this one where he's great. He has appeared on stage and in films and received several critics awards, but he's not been in any English speaking films.
Amazing.
Yep. Then we have Janis Vimba, and he plays Irvins, there's a family involved here, and this is the father of the family. Again, you love the variety of these people. So Janis began his career, he was a reporter at the Ministry of Finance and the Administration of Local Government Affairs.
It's exactly what he looks like.
Oh, you took the words right out of it. I was going to go, that's what that guy looks like. Totally.
Yes.
Like if you're thinking of what would a reporter at the Ministry of Finance and the Administration of Local Government Affairs look like? This guy. So anyway, our good friend Irvins, he graduated as an economics major, but then he decided he returned to the Latvian Academy of Culture to study acting and also attended a dance studio for 15 years. Now, what's funny about that is even though he looks like the senior at the administration building, I could actually see him in dance class too.
I just don't want to see him in tights. That's all I can say about it.
But so he's currently a Latvian actor and a theater director, but he has not appeared in any English-speaking roles. And then Inga Tropa, she's Diana, who's the mother. Now, again, she's a writer, actor, and a theater director. She was born in Russia, and she kind of looks Russian. Yeah,
absolutely.
She was born in Russia while her father was in service there. When she returned to Latvia, she studied theater direction. So that's why, but then she became an actress, but she also directs. And then she's also written several prize-winning plays for children and teenagers, which is cool. That's awesome. So, Mark, I don't even know if I can do this justice in terms of what I really loved about this film is that it had some whimsical elements to it. It had the crazy type of humor. Absolutely. The plot line is convoluted, but it's so charming. I really, really enjoyed it. And I probably enjoyed it more so the second time around, just because as funny and as goofy as it is, I got choked up at certain parts. I was like, that the scene with his son, and we'll get there. Yeah. Very poignant.
It's a very good movie. Yeah. I mean, we might be going out of order than we took it, but I think it was funny. It was, it's festive, which we'll get to. Yeah. I mean, you said about Bruno, the guy who plays Bruno, right? When the movie opens, you think they're robbing a building, but they're actually dragging speakers into the prison, right? And you're like looking like he's got this hard ass look in you. But then he starts singing. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
This movie is done so well or garnered the attention. Netflix bought the rights to it, and they're going to redo it.
No
Yes,
way.
they are. Now, there's a part of me that says, why do you need to redo it? Bruno is awesome, and everyone, but we'll see what but yes, they bought the rights to it because they enjoyed it so much. So
excellent movie.
Let me tell you, it opens up, you get this family in matching PJs. One thing is funny, sometimes kid actors, I'm like, I can be hard on them. And I was thinking when the kids first start, I'm like, they don't seem like genuine kids, especially the boy. But then, oh my gosh, as the movie went on, like the daughter, I fell in love with the daughter. She was awesome. But it starts out day before Christmas. They're in their matching PJs. Dad's, we learn, is a police officer. And the mom is this social media influencer.
Yep.
Again, creative. They show her kind of her online talking about, she does tips about crafts and like getting through Christmas. And so that's funny. And so they're talking about celebrating Christmas. But as you indicated, there's also this scene where these guys, and it looks like maybe they're stealing. Well, they are actually unpacking the speakers and all that further because they're the prison band and they're playing at the Christmas party. And the song, what I just love is the song that they select to sing at the Christmas party is Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba. I mean, how could a movie in the first 5 minutes with Chumbawamba, how could that not be like, wow, this is going to be fun?
And Mark, I swear, I kind of now get Christmas feels from that song because it was so instrumental. And what's so funny is, and this is where they talk about these elements that they couldn't really happen, but they just add humor to it. Like you see, he's singing it and they're starting to show other scenes. They're the prisoners holding hands and dancing around the Christmas tree. And these three really tough convicts get off a bus and they're looking at these going around a Christmas tree. And then there's a scene where a woman gets her purse stolen and the cop is chasing him. And as they race by, there are these two people in the park dancing to the song. Obviously they can't hear it. They can't, but those little things were so funny to me.
Immediately. Well, don't forget the people going around the Christmas tree, Bob, and the prisoners, they were wassailing.
They were. It was so funny.
Yeah. I mean, I think early on you get this sense from Diana that, she's sort of portraying this perfect life, which many people do on with the social, what do you call them, influencers, and that her husband is very fastidious about his job, but everything else around them maybe not so much. So
even the kids recite one of his lines is as a cop. You always have to expect the unexpected, which I think is the theme through this movie. Expect the unexpected. But, and they give you a couple of scenes to learn what he's really like. He buys his wife a gift. You don't know what it is. And the guy says, and he's being nice. I'm just going to give this to you. And he goes, no, you can't do that. That's corruption,
Right.
And he's like, fine, give me $50. He gives it to him and the guy sticks it in his pocket. And this is the cop. He goes, no, cash register.
Yep.
You got to put it in. And then he said, and I thought this was so funny, if we all paid our taxes, we'd be better off like Finland. Yeah. And it just like, that's a thing that like you would never hear in an American film.
That's right.
But, that's how they see Finland. And that was great. So and the other thing is his in-laws have showed up. They all go to a lake house for Christmas.
Right.
And the in-laws normally come with them, but they show up and they've decided, and it's really because the husband arrested his father-in-law for drunk driving and he's still angry about it. So what they say is, we're celebrating Christmas this year pagan style,
right?
Which means we're celebrating the winter solstice. We're going to have magic rituals, folk songs, a sauna, and a naked run.
I actually, the first time I watched it, I actually had to stop and say, wait, he arrested his father-in-law for a DUI?
Yeah. And the father-in-law finds like 3 different times to bring it up. So it's funny. Yeah, it's very funny. So he promises he'll drive him to the airport. But of course, what happens? He's arrests a father and son who are getting stoned in a nativity scene. And he at least says it's Christmas. He'll make sure that they can share a cell together. But because of that, he isn't there to take his in-laws to the airport. And this is the funny thing when you're talking about Diana. And this is where you kind of appreciate their relationship. He's at home fighting with her and she's saying nothing. He's like, you think this, you say this about me, you think I'm the worst person. She's doing her crafts and going about, and she's smirking, and it's really, really funny. And then he says, that's the way you think of me. I'm going to leave. I'm going to pack up and leave, which you get the feeling that he's threatened this several times before.
He seemed to have a routine there, didn't he?
Yeah. But his kids get nervous because they see this fight and they go, oh, this time he's serious. This is chaos. So that happens. In the meantime, we go back to Bruno at the Christmas party, and there's a prison guard there who seems that she likes him, and she sings with him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey, got a letter. And he's like, a letter? I'm not expecting a letter. Who'd write me in prison? He gets this letter. You can see it obviously impacts him. He throws it away, but then he takes it out again. And then he decides that he needs to get out of prison, whatever this letter's about. So he fakes a toothache,
Right.
which is really smart. He does it, fakes a toothache. So they're going to take him to the dentist. He also gets a phone. He gets a phone to him, calls his buddy and says, pick me up at the gas station, bring a suit, classy. I got to look classy, but not too classy. And then suddenly we have these bank officials who say, and this is where you start to learn why he's in prison. They stole money from a bank, $1 million. These guys want to say, they don't want to bring the money back to the bank. They want to keep it.
That's right.
And say, hey, we'll get you out of prison. We have a deal from the prosecutor. If you could tell us where the money is. There's no deal with the prosecutor. So the family decides they're off to the lake house, right? At the same time, Bruno's off to go to the dentist. And earlier we had heard a news report that a reindeer had escaped. And so they're riding along. This prison guard is singing Deck the Halls in Latvian, which was very fun. We get the fa la las. That part I knew, and I knew the tune. And here comes this reindeer with a red nose, runs across the street. She, doesn't want to hit it. They crash. They end up in a tree.
I think we learned too early on that Bruno is very close to getting out of prison.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So he's kind of a model prisoner. She has feelings for him.
And when they're up in the tree, it wasn't necessarily he was going to run away. In fact, what he does is he's hanging out of the tree on the
microphone.
Yeah, the microphone that tells the dispatcher, hey, we've had an accident.
Yeah.
And she was up, the prison guard's up there babbling about, was that Rudolph? Did I almost hit Rudolph? He's like, I think she needs mental help. And the intercom, the thing, it breaks. So he falls out of the tree and he's like, okay. He decides he takes off running and he ends up in a garage. He's freezing because all he has on, it's winter. There's a lot of snow on the ground. He has his prison jumpsuit on. He gets into this garage. He's able to use the tools to get the handcuffs off. There is some clothes on a scarecrow, a policeman's uniform, but it's too short for him. He's able to open a trunk in the garage, and there's a Santa suit in there. Now, the one thing I forgot, I should have said, which happened earlier, on the way to the lake house, the wife, now they're really fighting. And she's like, I asked you just to do one thing, pick up the candy. You couldn't even do that. And I bet you didn't arrange for the Santa visit. Well, clearly we can tell from his face he did not. But there just happens to be a Santa service right there. He gets the flyer, calls him while his wife's in the store to arrange a visit from Santa, which the guy is trying to talk to him while his wife is trying to buy a purse for 900 euros. So he says 900 euros and the police officer, because he needs it, says, fine. All right, 900 euros. So anyway, he thinks Santa is coming to the lake house because they have this Christmas. Bruno puts on the Santa suit because it's warm.
Yeah.
And by the way, he makes an incredible Santa, doesn't he?
Absolutely. There's so much to love about this
guy.
guy.
And really, I'm not kidding. He's bald and he looks like a convict. He puts his Santa suit on. He looks like one of the best Santas I've seen.
Adorable.
Our prison guard gets out of the tree. She ends up at the gas station where Bruno was supposed to meet his friend. He realizes that's her who's supposed to. Bruno's nowhere to be found. And guess what? She now says, I'm confiscating your car. So now she's with the guy who was supposed to pick up Bruno. Bruno is now at the house of the police officer that we met at the beginning.
Diana Irwin's house. Yep.
And that's why there was a uniform on the scarecrow. So he shows up, and of course he's right about to leave. He fixes the snowmobile, of course, that Irvin's couldn't fix because he's clueless. Fixes it. He's right about to take off in it, and the family shows up, and he's like, I didn't expect you this early. And so now he's stuck. He has to go in with them, and this is another point for the wife to say, we don't even have a tree up. We just got here, and Santa's here already. So again, they're sniping at each other, and this is where the little girl, she gets on the chair and she's like, hey, okay, we're going to go get the Christmas tree, but we need to go talk to Santa in our room. And the little brother and her go in there. It sounds like maybe this would be cloying or a cliche. It was not. They're like, look, what we want for Christmas is our parents are fighting. We've seen enough TV shows and Netflix to know what happens to kids when their parents are divorcing. And they're telling this to this guy who's stuck in here, like all he wants to do is get out and go. But they're like, we have these 4 rules. You got to talk to the mom. Yep. You have to, we'll talk to dad. And then you have to get dad jealous.
Right.
and they're writing these out. They have it all written out and they have this plan. And Bruno I think he still wants to escape, get out of here. Yeah. Climbs out the window and there's the dad and saying, hey, brings him inside and says, here's your money. Here's your 900 euros. He still probably could have escaped, but now he's starting to play along with this, I think.
I think at that point in the movie, trying to figure out how am I going to get away? Like, can I steal the car, whatever?
Yeah. But you're right. Cause he couldn't go walking. He already tried that. And
exactly. And so, I think the little girl's plan was hysterical.
They go out to cut down the tree. Bruno is going to help the mom make the meal for them. It's funny because he takes out the Santa stuff. He's back to his fault and she turns around and is like shocked. She screams and he's very conscientious, cutting up the food and all. He's great. He's really good. And they have kind of a good rapport going on. The kids, of course, are with dad out trying to get the tree. He pulls the chainsaw, and the cord comes off and he has to cut down the tree with a Swiss Army knife, which then the daughter's like, why do you have a Swiss? Shouldn't it be a Latvian Army knife? And but that's where they're coming back and she was telling her dad, and I love this, where she's like, you know what? You're leaving. I'm going to leave too. Mom doesn't like me either. She's always getting down on us for stuff. And the dad's like, wait, what? You can't. I'm not going to let you leave. And then, so she's trying, that's part of her plan to get them together. And she's like, hey, mom says she loves your sense of humor. So make her laugh. So he decides, they found this kind of weird Rudolph mask and he's going to come in and look at me. I'm Rudolph. And right at the time he does that, Bruno has made this fake mixer that sprays the whipped cream all over their face and they're laughing. Yeah. So dad comes in and he's starting to get jealous because
there's this little intimacy between Bruno and Diana.
Yes. And she's laughing and the reports are that there's a snowstorm coming. And so the prison guard and the friend are trying to find Bruno. The bank officials are following them, and the family is having their intimate meal, and Bruno's with them all day. Yep. I'm like, did they hire him for 24 hours? It wasn't like, he's having dinner with them.
How long was the visit going to be, right?
It's really crazy, but it's kind of great. The dad has figured out that this is Bruno, the escaped prisoner. And they go outside and they have a big fight. Yep. The dad falls through the ice. And Bruno could have taken off and got away. He saves the dad and goes back in the house. Yeah. He's dancing with the mom, Bruno is, and again, making the dad jealous. Just what the girl wanted, just what the daughter wanted. Following the plan. The wife sings a song. I think it's like a folk song, which is that was fun. It's fun for a non-Latvian viewer. That was fun. With the rest of them, they're getting caught. They ran out of gas. The friend and the guard, the bank officials, they're lost. The storm's coming in. So, and because of the bad storm, knocks the power out. The father wants them to come. Irvin wants the cops to come and take Bruno. Then the power goes out. And the gift that he had given his wife was a slide projector. It was just kind of interesting because I was like, this is a 2021 movie. Right. And I'm like, a slide projector. But because the power's out, they can't use it. Well, as much as Irvin can't do anything, Bruno's really handy. And he rigs it up and uses the police flashlight, which is very bright. And they're able to watch the slides. Yeah. And they do it as a family. Now, Bruno's just sitting there eating the Christmas cake, which he loves. And they're playing this song called You Drive Me Crazy by Jake and Stevens. And they're watching it. I got sucked into it. I'm like, it's showing them, and it's the actor and the actress. Excellent. They're real pictures. Yep. and they're just showing them as kids, and their kids are loving it, but it's pulling them together,
Right.
Clearly pulling them together. So they kiss. So Bruno has effectively done all the things that they have asked Santa to do, and he's Santa, right? He has become Santa. She also discovers that Bruno's a prisoner, and she's really angry, and they're fighting, and Bruno finally says, hey, you people don't know how well you have it. You have each other, you have this great life, and, he explains his situation. He's like, I was in prison for this bank robbery, but I got a letter that I have a son that I didn't know about. He's leaving the country. He's going to the U.S. to play hockey, and I'm a convicted felon. I will never be able to see this kid. I can't go to the U.S.
Right.
This is my only chance to see him. It's interesting because Diana has been really upset that he's a prisoner, and Irvin wants to turn him into the cops, and the cops are now arrived. The power has come back on. They're coming to get him.
Right.
And the next thing you know, he has him on the back of a snowmobile.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting part of the movie, right? Because Irvin's been a by-the-book guy, right? Everything by the book when he's a police officer. I think Diana's always wanted to see this vulnerable side of her husband, but never shows it. And so, he's on the back of the snowmobile.
Yeah, he's on the back of it. He's like, and even Diana had said to him, you get him there. He's melted their hearts. Now it's the focus is switched from the family. Now it's getting Bruno to see his son. And so they take him there. And this is where you see the good side of Irvin. Like Bruno's scared.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not how I wanted to first time meet a kid, and I'm in a Santa suit.
Right.
I busted out of prison. He watches him on the ice, and his son scores a goal.
Yep.
Yeah. And at first he thinks his son is the one, there's a big guy bully on there being that has to be mine. But no, his is smaller, good, scores a goal, and he's not going to meet him.
Right.
He's scared. And Irvin's like, no, you're going to go. You're going to meet your kid. He's going to want to meet you. He sent you a letter. So Bruno goes. I was touched.
Yeah, it was a great scene.
Like, the dialogue seemed very sincere and very true. They acknowledge, like, I didn't know anything about him. He's like, how is your dad? And he's like, my dad's great. He's the one who taught me how to skate. And when I say dad, I mean his stepdad. But Bruno's he's concerned. He really is.
Is she happy?
And it's not jealousy. It's that he's happy that their life is good. The dad is good. And he's like, what do you think of me? Like, he's embarrassed. And the son's like, shoot, my friends would love to like my dad's a bank robber. And, he's like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm serving my time. But then when his son's leaving, he goes, well, the only exception, if you ask me to rob a bank, I do it. Because he actually feels now this love for his son and he has to say goodbye to him.
That's right.
Yes. Everything's culminating. They're going to take him back to prison, but then the bank guys show up and they're like, hey, we got this deal for you. They said, we're like the feds.
Right.
We'll take over right now. And they get the two of them in the car. And, it's like, I don't want to ruin everything. The one thing I do want to say, I don't want to say like what happened with the $1 million. Oh, that's hilarious.
It is so funny.
It is so funny. But what I will say is what we learn is the bank officials had said something earlier about how they had ripped off the bank robbers. And you kind of forget about it with some land or whatever.
Right.
What you find out is these two, the friend and Bruno, they owned property that the bank sold off to a mall to build a mall on. And there was $1 million that they were paid for the land that these guys never got. So they busted into the bank. They could have stole $5 million.
Right.
They stole $1 million, and they said that's because that's what was owed to us.
Right.
So even in his crime, he was a good guy.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it all resolves
Yep.
very well. The funny thing is, though, and just add one more element, the friend ends up in jail, but he and the prison guard seem to have a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, at the end, there's so many things. This movie's a great movie, but what they do with the money, I laughed for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, what a creative way to write that movie.
Yes. And it just makes the friend more endearing too.
Oh, absolutely.
And the movie ends with tub thumping.
Tub
Jumpa
thumping.
whoopa.
That's right.
It was awesome.
Yep.
It was, I loved the Slovenia film for different things.
Right.
I loved this film too. I really, really did. I was really taken with this film.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the most recent favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. Festive?
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
This is one of the
Through and
most
through.
festive we've seen in a while. Tons of Christmas in it, music, decorations, the celebrating, the food, the everything. You know what I mean? It's present throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely.
How'd you feel?
I was joyous, man. It was just it was a fun movie to watch, you know?
Yeah, it ends when, that tub thumb is playing and I'm smiling and I'm like, I almost wanted them to do one of those show everybody like what they're all up to. I thought maybe they do that and they didn't, but it would have been fun, like the bank guys or whatever, just.
Or I also thought too, like getting all the characters singing that song and dancing to it.
Yeah. Which I should say there is a scene actually at the end where the family and Bruno, they sing Deck the Halls, just like, so that was kind of fun too. So would you watch it again?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, this is the one, we always talk about, like, this is one I would share with Mary Ellen. I go, you got to watch this. This is really a fun one.
Absolutely. It'd be so fun to watch this and would recommend it. Some like it's a legit Christmas movie.
Yeah. And that's it. I would definitely recommend it and anyone listening to us to go, really, this is some of the ones I know that are serious themes in that. Sometimes people don't like that at the holidays, and I understand that. I think I like a wide variety, and I think those are impactful as well. But if you like light, if you like fun, but you still like some emotional resonance, this is it. This is the one. Okay. So do you want to say you want to learn how to say Merry Christmas in Latvian?
I do.
Priecāgus Ziemassvetki. Oh, you say much better than I do.
I said that with a question mark.
So Christmas in Latvia, Christmas is called by the secular name Ziemassvetki. Ziemassvetki, and that literally what it means is winter holiday. So, a lot of times we hear it's like Christ's birth, baby, but this is the one you can use it in all settings, formal, casual, informal, but they say many people also in Latvia will also say it in English. They'll say Merry Christmas. And where this comes from was before Christianity, the Latvians lived by the solar calendar. So they would celebrate Ziemassvetki for 2 to 3 days. And that's why the word actually, it's not Christmas, it's Christmases. So what you're saying is like essentially winter holidays, because as we've seen in many from that pagan tradition, that it would culminate on the day of the solstice, when the day was the shortest, night was the longest, and that was then their Ziemassvetki ceremony, that 4-day ceremony, and it was loud and joyous, and it was a dynamic celebration for the return of light. It is so interesting how we see time and time again how the ancients loved to celebrate, like they hated how everything got darker, and they couldn't wait for the light to return. If you think about it, if you didn't have electricity,
wouldn't that be weird? I guess you have your candles, and your fireplace.
Mark, Latvia, they have some fun stuff. Now, this is a subject for debate, but the first Christmas tree ever on public display may have been in Riga, Latvia. In 1510.
Wow.
Now, the experts are divided whether it was in Riga or Tallinn, Estonia. Okay. So there's a fight between Latvia and Estonia. Who had it first? There is a plaque, though, in Riga's town square commemorating that they had the very first public Christmas tree. It is engraved in 8 different languages, claiming we had the first tree. And the original tree was put up, and I love this, by the Brotherhood of Blackheads. Now, this is not people with acne. This was a fraternity of unmarried merchants and traders.
Wow.
I'm like, that must have been for some fun parties there. So they put it outside of their house, there was like a fraternity house, and they put a tree up there. And because this guild, this Blackhead Guild, kept records. So they had the records going back to 1510 that told that they did this tree. So we don't know how tall it was or anything like that. We do know it was decorated with paper flowers. So on the last night of the 4-day celebration leading up to holidays, so they set it up outside their fraternity. Then at the very end, when Christmas comes, they bring it to the town hall square, and then they dance around it, and then they'd burn it.
That Blackhead Guild gang. They are wild and crazy dudes.
Woo, let's dance and then let's burn. So the history is that the tree would be set on fire, but one year the house burned down with it. So the city said no more burning of the Christmas tree, the giant Christmas tree. The next year, what did they do? They hung a bunch of lanterns from it to make it look like it was burning.
That's great. When they used to put candles on Christmas trees.
I know. Live candles. Yes.
Maybe we could do a podcast one time of hazardous Christmas traditions.
What I want to do, though, is part of this mission of our podcast is to inspire the returning of some old customs. And so I am going to set my Christmas tree on fire right in my yard. So come by.
Okay. I will be dressed as a goat.
One interesting Latvian Christmas tradition is the Bluka Veksana, which means drag the block. And this is left over from ancient times. The Latvians were pagans, and the Baltics were the last tribes to be conquered by the Christians. Even though Christianity is the main religion now in Latvia, I mean, they were the last ones to adopt it, but it is the main religion. There still are some pagan traditions that they celebrate, that they still carry over. And what you do is an oak log is cut and then dragged around the yard and around the perimeter of your land. And it's supposed to draw all the bad, like energy, all the bad experiences into it. So you roll the block around your land and it has all the energy in it, and then you burn it. They love the burning thing. Latvia their Christmas is a flame.
Well, it's cold where they are, right? So like, fire makes sense, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're sandwiched there between Lithuania and Estonia. It's got to be chilly there.
So they're burning away all the negativity. That's
right.
Latvia has these big gray peas, and these are clearly, I saw a lot of descriptions and pictures of them. Yeah. And they're like giant. There's big peas, and you have bacon, pork underbelly, lard, and onions. And this is one thing that is served up, and the bigger the better. This is every table, at least in Latvia, they will have their peas and bacon and lard. So they actually will, if they see some large peas, they're put aside, save those for Christmas. This is like one of the national dishes of the country, and they're supposed to symbolize fertility, life, wealth, prosperity, and success. So the bigger you get them, the more success, fertility.
So size matters.
Yeah,
I'm only repeating back what I'm hearing, Bob.
So the peas are supposed to help the sun to light up and give us the strength in the winter. Again, It's that light. They help the day to stay longer when the nights are long and the days are short. Peas also kept in a purse to promote wealth and fertility. And we've seen this carp scales and peas. And, we're carrying around all kinds of, we need something like this here.
Why can't it be like cheeseburger brings me wealth and happiness?
Yeah, but did you want Sue to carry a cheeseburger around in her purse all year?
Oh, right. Good point.
The other thing, so we talk about the big gray peas. Also, pierogi or crescent-shaped lard and bacon-filled pies are another popular selection. Now, that's one I actually could kind of try. I mean, it sounds kind of disgusting. Bacon and lard and a pie, I don't know. They're small buns stuffed with bacon, yellow onion, and black pepper, and they call them bacon pies. They represent hospitality, and they're also a symbol of prosperity and eaten to make the coming year rich. So we got the peas with bacon, we got the bacon pies, and then just because we can't leave the pig alone, there is the Christmas pig snout. Again, Mark, this is the one. I'll burn my tree. you serve the Christmas pig snout. It's a very old dish, and it's less commonly seen today, which does not surprise me. But the pig snout is a symbol of the plow because the pig turns the soil with his nose. So if you dine on pig snout as a soil digger, again, it's supposed to bring success and make the work easier for the field laborers. So
logic there.
Yeah. So the men whose job generally maybe in farming, rural, they would eat peas with their pig's nose.
Okay.
After all that, I'm going to grab a hunk of some pig snout and some bacon pie, but
This calls for some Christmas music.
Yes, this Christmas music.
What kind of Christmas music is that?
The least you could do is play some Christmas music.
And now back to Christmas music.
we should listen to some Latvian Christmas music.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
This is called Eglite. It's by Livy. And Eglite, it's a joyful and heartwarming invitation to celebrate with friends and family during the Christmas season. It was released in 1994, and this is a Latvian hard rock and heavy metal band, but it's known for its poetic lyrics and guitar solos. But the band, so they released this in 1994, they were formed in 1976.
Wow.
I know. Throughout their history, what they are known for is their songs are about Latvian patriotism and anti-Sovietism. So this song, though, the lyrics describe the children standing by the Christmas tree, their eyes sparkling with happiness and excitement as they wait for the arrival of the new year. The snow has settled all around them. The atmosphere is warm and cozy. The singer invites everyone to join him in celebration and promises to be happy and quiet. I guess that's because he's from a heavy metal band.
But you can't hear.
He thanks his guests for coming and expresses his gratitude through a cheerful song, which reflects the festive spirit of the occasion. All right, I'm going to give you some Latvia trivia.
Oh, that's right. We still have trivia.
Yes, in Latvia, it's their trivia.
It's trivia. Trivia.
Oh, how we love these locations that we know so little about. It makes the trivia so informative, right?
Yep.
If you know this trivia, you'll be rewarded with a sticker, and we have such a variety of new stickers to pick from. All right, 2025 is already going to be the most colorful year. So we thought maybe we'd ask you how a Swedish phone company played a prank on Latvia in 2009, and they faked a fiery meteor crash by digging a hole and burning chemicals in it. Really happened.
My God.
Or how about in 1989, in order to peacefully protest the communist rule, they formed a 373-mile human chain of 2 million residents from Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia.
I love that.
I love it too, but isn't it amazing? I don't remember ever hearing anything about that.
I don't either. Kind of remember when we did Hands Across
Yes,
America?
Yeah. Or if you visit the port city of Lapaja, one of the attractions is to be locked up in an old military jail and subjected to Soviet-style treatment.
Well, don't they know how to have fun?
Or even Billy Idol. Remember Billy Idol?
Of course.
He has a song called Sweet 16, and it's based on a real story of a Latvian girl who broke off her engagement, and the ex-fiance was so upset, he built her a castle as a tribute. And that's what the song is based on. All great things to ask about, really. But no, we thought we'd ask about, there is a real Latvian man who inspired a fictional movie character, and they made 3 films about him. And he clearly wasn't Latvian in the movies, mate. If you know the answer to that, you don't have to know the Latvian man. Who was the character, though, he inspired? That's what we want to know. Mark, we're on our way out, so gotta just leave you with a quote before the door shuts. This one, Chris Van Allsburg said it. Chris Van Allsburg, who wrote The Polar Express. And he says, seeing is believing, but sometimes the most real things in the world are the things we can't see.
That's very good.
Mm-hmm. So even a prisoner, a convicted bank robber, can be Santa.
Yes, he can. You know, that great movie. My early guess on the fictional character, is it Pee Wee Herman?
You're back to talking about size again, aren't you?
Actually, we're done.
Done.
It's over. It's over. It's over. Kaput. Finito.
It's over. It's over. It's over.
This has been a Waysound Studio production.
And sound engineering on our show is by Jake Fontana.